Well, we haven't lost James Cleverly in the sense that he's going to remain in the Home Office. We have a lot of interaction also with the Home Office on issues that matter to Gibraltar, and James Cleverly is in effect being promoted into the role of Home Secretary. So I very much look forward to continuing Gibraltar's relationship with James. You know, I've described him as one of my best friends in politics, and he is. He really cares about Gibraltar. He's demonstrated that whilst he's been at the Foreign Office. Equally, the person taking over from James Cleverly is not somebody who is unknown to Gibraltar. He's the first Prime Minister to have visited Gibraltar whilst in office in 20 or 30 or longer years. He's somebody who gave us the access to the UK market as we left the European Union, somebody who cared deeply about Gibraltar when the result that came in on the Brexit referendum was a negative one and was therefore also going to have negative consequences for Gibraltar. And David Cameron is somebody who I've known closely as a result of the work I did with him when he was Prime Minister, who I am able to talk to on issues when they matter to Gibraltar. And what matters the most, somebody who's going to be very firm on the issue of sovereignty of Gibraltar, just as firm as James Cleverly. So I don't think that there's any issue here arising as a result of this change, which is going to mean that we're going to have less access to number 10 Downing Street with Mr. Sunak, less access to King Charles Street there with David Cameron than we've had under James Cleverly. And indeed, if anything else, although I knew Suella Braverman and didn't know her as well as I know James Cleverly, and therefore perhaps we've gained access in the sense that we'll have more access to the Home Office than we did before.
In terms of the treaty, of course, we're now waiting to see what happens in Spain with Pedro Sanchez. Treaty negotiations, a tried player, as you say, tried and tested, but nevertheless a new player in the negotiations. What effect do you think this will have?
Well, of course, you've got to understand that in the context of this negotiation, the level at which the Foreign Secretary is involved is not in the detail of the day-to-day negotiation and the discussion. The Foreign Secretary and the Prime Minister have an overview of what's happening. We pray them in aid when there's a need for them to become involved to assist us, but they're not involved in the day-to-day negotiation. So they're fresh pair of eyes, you might say, could potentially even be helpful in the context of that level, that helicopter view that they have and need to have of this negotiation, where the key negotiators, Lindsay Appleby for the United Kingdom and myself and Joseph for Gibraltar with all our teams of officials, remain the same, and where the issue in Spain is now developing, and we hope to see them return to the negotiating table very soon, with Pedro Sanchez to be invested as Prime Minister, according to the timetable that's been published this afternoon by Friday of this week.
In terms of perception and soft power, David Cameron has been, as you said, of course, Prime Minister, but out of the loop for a number of years. He hasn't even been an MP recently. He's got the Brexit referendum as a legacy. Do you think that he'll command respect?
Well, I think that David Cameron is somebody actually who has great connections throughout Europe. I'll tell you for nothing that I've been in touch with David Cameron in the past, even after he stopped being Prime Minister, to assist us at different times. I mean, the man has a great Rolodex, to use an analogue term, of contacts in the European Union. He's very highly regarded in Europe, despite the fact that it was his referendum that took the United Kingdom out of Europe. He had good, strong contacts in the European Union, and therefore I think that having him on Gibraltar's side is something that is going to be a net positive in this moment during the course of the negotiation. Having him on Gibraltar's side at any time, even though you look at his period in government and it ended with something that we would regard as a bad decision for Gibraltar, the net effect of the Cameron government was a positive one for Gibraltar between 2010 and 2016. The relationship was a strong one, and you can see that he's somebody who is perhaps at this moment more highly regarded outside of the United Kingdom than inside the United Kingdom. So perhaps if you were going to give him any role, you would make him Foreign Secretary, where he's going to spend more of his time outside of the United Kingdom than inside it. For Gibraltar, I think it's actually not a bad appointment.